Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll talk you through my method for making plywood walls in your van conversion. I use 9mm plywood and I use a V-groove router bit to create a cladded or panelled effect, which can run either vertically, which is what we'll be doing in this video, or horizontally to make the effect look like cladding. This V-groove also helps to hide the join between two different sheets. I like to use 9mm plywood because it's a very strong structural product. And because it's laminated, it's not prone to movement such as shrinkage during different temperatures, but also it meets the curve of the wall nicely. In total, you'll need 5 sheets of 9mm plywood for this build. If you look behind me, you'll see our current van conversion, and the insulation phase has just been completed along with the first fixed cable runs. So this is what you want it to look like, all vapor barriered up, before you then move on to ply lining the walls. So the first thing to do is to measure how high you need your plywood panels to be. I'm going to be using vertical V-grooves in these boards, so the panels are going to be 1.20 m wide by a set distance high. So I'll measure that now. So that's 1.79 m before it meets this 45-degree angle in the corner. And then I've got my horizontal roofing battens at 1.52 m, 77 centimeters, and along the floor at low level. This is where I'll fix the plywood to the wall. So the first sheet of 9mm ply is going to be cut to around the area of the rear wheel arch. And for this, I've got a template which was basically the plywood that came out of the van, which I've kept. So if you've got this, it's really useful. If you haven't, you can either scribe this curve using the scribe tool, or you can cut the square in the bottom based on the dimensions of the wheel arch. Now that this first piece is cut to size, we'll put the screws in to hold it in place so that we can measure how big the next panel needs to be. One thing that I do which is useful is to draw this guideline at the heights where the fixings need to go. So in this build, it's at 76 centimeters and at 1.52 m, just drawn a horizontal line so that I know the screws will go into the battens below. I've just fixed in the panel with a couple of screws, just temporarily, whilst I measure the second board, and then we can move everything out and start the routering process. Where there's the end of the board and another board is going to be joining it, I've run another batten vertically so that a couple of fixings on both boards will bring them nice and flush with one another. Now that the two boards have been cut and I'm happy with their placement, I'm now going to take them out and do the V-groove routering to give the panelled look. You can see there's this line here which joins the two boards together. So what we'll do is we'll do a half groove on each of these boards, and then every 23 centimeters we'll do another groove so that the joins are hidden. Okay, so now that all the wall panels have been cut to size and shape, I'm going to use this trim router with a V-groove router bit to create a panelled look and to hide the joins between the boards. You can see what the V-groove bit looks like here, and you can adjust the depth using this piece of the tool here. You want to make sure that you run a few test pieces to ensure that you've got the right depth that you need, which I've already done. And I'll now show you how I use a straight edge and some clamps to run a straight V-groove down the boards. So to get the measurements for the board that the straight edge is going to run along, I'm going to first look at the distance between the cutting blade and the base plate. Now on this trim router, this distance here is 44 millimeters. So my first mark will be 44 millimeters away from the edge, and this will give basically a half groove along this edge, which will then join the panels together. To get the distance between each of the marks, I want to have 6 panels on each sheet. So I'll do the width of the panel, 1/220, divided by 6, gives me 203.3 mil. So I'll go for 203 mil. So 44 is my first mark. My second mark will be at 247. My third mark will be at 450. And my fourth mark will be at 653. I'll do that now. So I've turned the board around and I'll just finish the last few passes on this before we can then put it in the van. So now that we've done the V-groove router into the plywood, I'm going to take a bit of sandpaper. This is 120 grit. And what I've made is a small block just using an offcut of tongue and groove cladding. And this tongue here helps to get into the groove when you're doing your sanding. So I'll show you how I do that now. So here you can see the grooved effect on this panel, which we're now going to install in the van, and I'll get through all the others and then we'll see what it looks like when they're all done. So here you can see the walls, they've been installed and painted. We're really happy with the finish, and the V-groove works really well. You can see with the horizontal lines, it's pretty much hidden the joins between the two sheets. And the 9mm plywood nicely curves to the shape of the wall and provides a good fixing point for any cabinetry or overheads that you're going to install thereafter. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel for more van life content. We also have another how-to video explaining our methods for building overhead cupboards. So if you haven't done so, do check that out.